Would Giovanni accept or reject it if he knew about the relationship between Amara and Luca? What would you do if you were in this situation? Let's find out. Love Beyond Wealth, Part 2. Amara, Giovanni began, his voice cold. I have heard some troubling news. Amara stood frozen in place, her hands trembling. What do you mean, father? Giovanni stood up, pacing across the room. I've been informed that you've been spending time in the market with a young man, a street musician, no less. Amara's heart raced and she swallowed hard. Father, Giovanni cut her off. Do you know what this looks like? You are my daughter, Amara, the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in Italy. Do you think I will allow you to ruin our family's name by associating with someone so beneath us? Tears welled up in Amara's eyes, but she fought to keep her voice steady. He's not beneath us, father. Luca is kind, talented, and I love him. Giovanni's face hardened. Love? You don't even know what love is, Amara. This boy, this Luca, he has nothing to offer you. No wealth, no status, no future. You're throwing away everything for a fantasy. Amara shook her head, her voice trembling with emotion. It's not a fantasy, father. I don't care about wealth or status. I care about Luca, and I care about being happy. Giovanni's expression turned cold and unforgiving. You are my daughter, and you will do as I say. You will stop seeing this boy immediately. I've already made arrangements for you to meet with the son of the Conti family, a suitable match, someone who can elevate our family even further. Amara's blood ran cold. You've already arranged a match? Without even telling me? Giovanni's voice was firm. It's what's best for you. You'll see that in time. Amara felt a surge of anger and defiance rise within her. She had always been obedient, always done what her father expected, but this time was different. She couldn't let him control her life, not when it came to love. No, father, she said, her voice strong and resolute. I won't marry someone I don't love. I won't give up Luca. Giovanni's face turned red with anger. You will do as I say, Amara, or you will be cut off from this family. Do you understand? If you choose that boy, you will have nothing. Amara's heart pounded in her chest and tears spilled down her cheeks. The thought of losing her family was unbearable, but the thought of losing Luca was even worse. I'm sorry, father, she whispered, but I choose Luca. Without waiting for a response, Amara turned and fled from the room, her heart aching with the weight of her decision. She knew she had just severed her ties with the only family she had ever known, but in her heart, she believed that love was worth the sacrifice. As Amara ran through the streets toward Luca's home, Luca himself sat in a small house, unaware of the storm that was about to hit. He had just finished a long day at the market and was preparing dinner for his mother when there was a frantic knock at the door. Luca opened the door to find Amara standing there, tears streaming down her face, her breath coming in gasps. His heart sank as he took in her appearance. Amara, what happened? He asked, pulling her inside. Amara collapsed into his arms, sobbing uncontrollably. My father, he knows about us. He wants me to marry someone else, someone rich. He said if I don't leave you, he'll cut me off. Luca's heart ached as he held her close, stroking her hair. He had feared this day would come, but hearing it was still devastating. I'm so sorry, Luca, Amara whispered. I don't want to lose you, but I don't know what to do. Luca pulled back slightly, looking into her tear-filled eyes. Amara, don't want to be the reason you lose your family. I love you more than anything, but I can't let you throw away everything for me. Amara shook her head, gripping his shirt tightly. I don't care about the money or the status, Luca. I care about you. You make me happy in a way no one else ever has. Luca's throat tightened as he fought back his own tears. But I have nothing to offer you, Amara. You deserve so much more than what I can give you. Amara cupped his face in her hands, her voice filled with conviction. You've already given me more than anyone else ever has. You've given me love, and that's worth more than all the wealth in the world. For a long moment, they stood there in silence, holding each other tightly as the weight of the situation pressed down on them. Luca knew that their love was real, but he couldn't shake the fear that Amara would regret choosing him, that she would one day miss the life of luxury she was leaving behind. But as he looked into her eyes, he saw nothing but love and determination. Amara had made her choice, and Luca knew that he had to trust her. The days that followed were difficult for Amara and Luca. Amara had left her father's villa and was staying with a friend, trying to figure out what her next steps would be. She had no intention of returning to her father's life of wealth and control, but the thought of being completely cut off was terrifying. Then one evening, Amara received a phone call from one of the servants at her father's villa. Her father had fallen seriously ill. He had collapsed in his office, and the doctors were unsure if he would survive. Amara's heart raced with fear and guilt. Despite everything, he was still her father, and the thought of losing him was unbearable. Without hesitation, she rushed to the hospital, hoping to see him before it was too late. When she arrived, the doctors informed her that her father was in critical condition. He had suffered a heart attack and needed surgery, but there was a complication. Giovanni needed a rare blood type for a transfusion, and they were struggling to find a donor. Amara's mind raced as she thought of what to do. Then a sudden thought struck her. Luca had mentioned once that he had the same rare blood type. Without wasting another moment, Amara called Luca and explained the situation. Within an hour, Luca was at the hospital, ready to donate his blood or flesh to save the man who had threatened to tear them apart. He didn't hesitate, didn't question. He knew that saving Amara's father was the right thing to do, not just for her, but for the man who had worked so hard to protect his daughter, even if it was in the wrong way. The surgery was a success, and Giovanni slowly began to recover. As he lay in his hospital bed, weakened but alive, he learned of Luca's selfless act. Giovanni had always thought of Luca as nothing more than a poor street musician, someone unworthy of his daughter's love. But in that moment, he realized how wrong he had been. Luca had given up his own blood to save him, asking for nothing in return. Giovanni's pride crumbled, and for the first time in his life, he understood that wealth wasn't the most important thing. Love, kindness, and sacrifice were far more valuable. When Giovanni was finally strong enough to speak, he asked to see Luca. Amara was hesitant, unsure of what her father would say, but Luca agreed to go. As Luca entered the hospital room, Giovanni looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and regret. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Giovanni cleared his throat and said, "You saved my life." Luca nodded. "I did what anyone would do." Giovanni shook his head. "No, you did more than that. You saved the life of a man who wanted to keep you away from the woman you love. That's not something everyone would do." Luca shifted uncomfortably, unsure of how to respond. "I love your daughter." I would do anything for her. Giovanni sighed, his voice softening. I can see that now. And I can see that I was wrong about you, Luca. I thought you were beneath us. But the truth is, you have more heart and character than most of the wealthy men I know. He paused, looking up at Luca with tired eyes. If Amara loves you, then I have no right to stand in the way. You've proven that you're worthy of her. Luca's heart swelled with relief and gratitude. Thank you, Signor Rossi, he said humbly. I never wanted to come between you and Amara. I only want to make her happy. Giovanni nodded slowly, the weight of his past mistakes evident in his eyes. I see that now. I've spent my whole life believing that wealth was the most important thing, but you've shown me otherwise. Love and loyalty, those are things money can't buy. And you've earned my respect, Luca. Luca felt a mixture of emotions, relief, joy, and a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. For so long, he had feared that his love for Amara would never be accepted, but now, standing in front of her father, he knew that things were finally changing. Amara, who had been sitting quietly by her father's bedside, stood up and moved closer to Luca. She took his hand in hers, her eyes filled with love and gratitude. Thank you, Luca, she whispered. You've done so much for me, for us. Luca squeezed her hand gently, looking at her with the same deep affection. I'd do it all again, Amara, for you. Over the next few weeks, Giovanni's health continued to improve, and during that time, Luca and Amara visited him frequently. With each visit, the bond between Luca and Giovanni grew stronger. Giovanni began to see Luca not just as the poor musician from the streets, but as a man of integrity, someone who truly cared for his daughter. One afternoon, after a long conversation about life, family, and love, Giovanni turned to Luca and said, Luca, I've spent my life building a business, growing my wealth, but I realize now that none of it matters if my daughter isn't happy. You've shown me what true love looks like, and for that, I am grateful. Luca looked at Giovanni, unsure of what to say. Giovanni continued, I want to help you, Luca. I want you to be a part of our family, not just because you saved my life, but because I can see how much you love Amara. I've decided that if you're willing, I would like to offer you a position in my business. Luca's eyes widened in surprise. You want me to work for you? Giovanni smiled. Not work for me, work with me. I've built an empire, but I need someone like you, someone with a good heart and strong values to help carry it forward, and who better than the man my daughter loves. Luca was speechless. He had never imagined this outcome. He had only ever wanted to be with Amara, but now Giovanni was offering him a chance to build a future, not just for himself, but for their family. Amara beamed with happiness, seeing the two most important men in her life finally coming together. I don't know what to say, Luca finally stammered. This is more than I could have ever dreamed of. Giovanni chuckled softly. Just say yes, Luca, and make my daughter happy. With Giovanni's blessing, Luca and Amara's love story took a new, beautiful turn. The simple musician from the market and the wealthy heiress who had defied the odds were finally able to plan their future together. Giovanni, once a staunch opponent of their relationship, became their greatest supporter, helping Luca and Amara plan their wedding. The ceremony took place in the beautiful countryside outside the city, surrounded by friends and family. Amara wore a simple yet elegant dress, her hair flowing down her shoulders, while Luca stood by her side, his heart filled with joy and love. As they exchanged vows under the warm Italian sun, Luca couldn't believe how far they had come. From their first meeting in the bustling market to the many obstacles they had faced, their love had only grown stronger. Giovanni watched with pride as his daughter married the man she loved. He had once been blinded by his ambition and desire for wealth, but now he saw the true value in life: family, love, and happiness. After the ceremony, Giovanni approached Luca and Amara, his eyes misty with emotion. "I couldn't be prouder of the two of you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You've both taught me so much. Luca, you've shown me what it means to be a good man, and Amara, you've reminded me that love is more important than anything else." Amara hugged her father tightly, tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Father. I'm so happy that you've accepted us." Luca stood beside her, grateful for everything that had happened. He knew that his life had changed in ways he could have never imagined. Not only had he found the love of his life, but he had also gained a family that truly cared for him. With Giovanni's support, Luca joined the family business, bringing fresh ideas and a new perspective to the table. Under Giovanni's guidance, Luca quickly rose through the ranks, proving himself to be not just a talented musician, but also a shrewd businessman. Within a few years, Luca had become one of the wealthiest men in the region, but despite his newfound success, he remained humble and true to himself. He continued to play his violin, not for money, but for the love of music. It was his way of staying connected to the life he had lived before his rise to fortune. Amara, too, found happiness in their new life together. She and Luca built a beautiful home where they could raise a family of their own, surrounded by love, laughter, and music. Giovanni, now retired, spent his days enjoying the company of his daughter, son-in-law, and grandchildren. He often reflected on the lessons he had learned through their love story, the importance of kindness, the power of sacrifice, and the true meaning of wealth. As the years passed, Luca and Amara's love only deepened. They had faced challenges, defied expectations, and overcome obstacles. But through it all, their love had remained steadfast. One evening, as they sat together on the porch of their home, watching the sunset, Amara turned to Luca and smiled. "Can you believe how far we've come?" Luca took her hand, his heart filled with love. "It feels like a dream, but the best kind of dream, the kind that came true." Amara leaned her head on his shoulder, content in the life they had built together. "I'm so glad we didn't give up on each other." Luca kissed her forehead gently. "I couldn't have given up on you, Amara. You're everything to me." As the sun dipped below the horizon, they sat in peaceful silence, knowing that they had found something rare and precious, true love, a love that had withstood the test of time, challenges, and even the barriers of class and wealth. And in that moment, with the world around them bathed in the soft glow of twilight, they knew that their story was far from over. It was just the beginning of a life filled with love, happiness, and the kind of wealth that truly mattered, a wealth of the heart. The story ends here.
If you're interested in how a man under a lot of pressure transforms into a happy and successful person, click the video here or follow the link in the description.